What's up, guys, and welcome back for episode 2 of our skateboarding masterclass. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that you've seen the first episode. The first episode, I taught you guys how to roll around, how to stay balanced on your board, and that's super important to learn first before you move on to any tricks. And in this episode, we're gonna be learning to shove it. But before I get into things, I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys a montage of all the different tricks that are gonna fit inside the beginner category. How I've decided to divide this up is that there's going to be 3 different levels of each kind of category. So the first category is going to be beginners. So there's going to be 3 levels of beginners, and there'll be 3 levels of intermediate tricks. Then we're going to move on to advanced and then expert tricks. So let's go ahead and roll that montage. So first I'm going to show you a shove it, and then I'm going to tell you the best way to approach learning this trick. So here's a shove it. As you notice, the board rotates 180 degrees, and I quickly jump up and land right back down on it. But I'm not jumping up very high, as you can see as well. And that's what's great about this trick. As compared to an ollie, you actually have to get up in the air and then absorb the impact, whereas this, there's not much impact being absorbed. But the best way to learn this trick is to do it standing off of the board first. What I want you guys to do is take your back foot and put the tip of your toes just barely hanging off this edge right here on the tail. So do that, and then what I want you to do is trace a crescent moon kind of right here in front of you. So take your back foot, trace an arc of a moon, and then stop it right here. Okay, so do that a couple times. As you can see, it's kind of going away from you. But this is just kind of showing you the basic motion that you're going to need to do. Next, what I want you to do is once you've done that a couple times, start trying to apply a little bit of force to it and try to do it a little quicker. So we're going to do it again. And as you can see, it didn't kind of roll off like this. It was kind of stationary or even a little further this way. So do that now. Do that a couple times. Don't want to worry about landing on it or anything. Just want to get the motion down first. Okay. So you practice that a couple times. Now what I want you to do is practice getting your back foot back on the tail right here. So, I'm going to do it again, but this time, after we've done that arc motion, we're going to move our foot back to where the tail is. So, just like that. So practice that a bunch of times. And it's okay if it over-rotates like this or under-rotates, just as long as you get your foot back on the tail. Okay, so at this point, you're essentially halfway there to landing the trick. If you can do the shove it motion and get your back foot back on the tail, the only other thing is to worry about your front foot. So how to address that? What I want you to do, stand on your board, and then back foot hanging off the tip of the tail. Your front foot's gonna be kind of like a 45-degree angle here, but like on top of the bolts. And like as you can see, a good amount of my foot is on the board. So this is the proper position for shove it. Now what I want you to do is, once you do the shove it motion, I want you to take your back foot and land it on the ground and try to land your front foot on the board. So something like this. So just like that is what I want you to try. But be careful that the board doesn't land on your back toes. So just try to, watch out for that. I should try that for now. So we'll get it a couple more times. Okay, we're getting really close now. So what I want you to do is, before you go any further, get those two parts down. Like down so you can do them just about every try. I want you to be able to do a shove it with the back foot, land it back on there, and I want you to be able to do this just about every try. Because what we're going to do now is, once we're comfortable with those, we want to combine those two motions together in our head. And it's difficult to do it first, but the only way to do it really is just to try it. But now we've at least calibrated our brain so that we know how much pressure to apply to the tail and how much to shove it, and then where to spot the nose. So now, what I want you to do is just do a quick shove it motion. We're going to jump straight up in the air and try our best to land back on the board. Now, most likely, you're probably going to land your first shove it kind of like this, with your front foot kind of hanging off this edge right here. And that's okay. As long as you can get any little bit of your foot on there, that's progress. And then from there, you basically just want to compensate in your brain where your foot should be when it lands on the nose. So if it's landing a little too far to the left, I want you to try to move your front foot to where it should be. If you tried all these things and you're still really struggling with this trick, there's kind of like a cheating, shortcut way to do this trick as well. And that's to do it in the fakie stance. So the fakie stance is basically, you're going to set up the exact same way that you did regular, but you're going to be rolling this way when you do the trick. And so what's kind of why I call it like a cheat code is that when you go to do the shove it, since you're heading in this direction and you're scooping off this tail here, it's basically just doing a pivot like this. And you don't really have to apply a force, like an extra amount of force if you're rolling this way to get it to rotate. You can almost essentially just swivel it off of this tail and land on it this way. So if you're really struggling doing it regular, give it a try fakie. And it goes just like this. So the one last thing that I want you guys to try to keep in mind when you're trying to do this trick is to stay light-footed. You want to stay light-footed because if you're doing this trick and you're coming down really hard on it trying to land it, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. Let's say that you do the shove it motion and you're trying to slam down on it. If you're leaning just a little bit off, you can end up slipping out and slamming on the ground. Or, and this is the worst one, you could land on the nose and pop it up and end up hitting your shin. Because you're trying to get your foot back on the ground, and so you're kind of naturally going this way and you could smack your shin. So try to be really light-footed when you try this trick to avoid those. So on your journey to learning this trick, there's one last exercise that's going to help a lot with teaching you how to land back on the board and maintain your balance. And that's basically standing on top of the bolts like this, getting a good base, and then jumping straight up in the air and landing right back where you started. So you got a good base here, you can bend down, and then just quick straight up, right back down. We don't want to be shifting at all in the air because we don't want to land on the tail like this, or on the nose, or on the side like this either. We just want to go straight up and straight back down. And if even that's a little too scary for you, what you can do is just take your board over to some grass and practice it in the grass. That way it's not going to shoot out on you if you do land on it wrong. And what's really good about getting good at this now is, say later you want to learn hippie jumps, you're going to know exactly how to do them. Because a hippie jump is basically just like letting your board go underneath the rail while you jump up and go on top of it and land back on the board. So eventually you're going to be able to like jump up as high as you want to and land back on the bolts just because you got it calibrated enough. But don't try that now. That's for later. Just do this for now. Just a little one. That's all we need. Alright, so I think that pretty much concludes our lessons for the Shove It today. What I want you guys to do is take all that information I gave you and try to apply it to the next time you skate. So just take everything I gave you and practice it over and over again and try to get your feet calibrated so that you can land back on it right. If you're struggling a lot doing it regular, try doing a fakie. Just, creep along real slow, go in the opposite direction, and try doing a fakie to see if that works for you. Because I know for me, when I first learned this trick, I definitely landed it fakie first, just because it kind of folded over a lot easier for me. And if you do start landing them, what I want you guys to do is challenge yourself by going like a little faster incrementally. So just a little bit faster, and try to get more consistent with them. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this lesson. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.